Okay, while she gets set up, I will call the meeting to order at 7:01. And I'm going to start with roll call. Brandon.
Present.
Melanie.
Here.
Carla.
Present.
Catherine.
Here.
Roxanne.
Here.
Aaron.
Here.
Mark.
Present.
And myself. We're all here. The gang's back together. Next on the agenda is public comment. Carol, was there public comment?
There was no public comment called in.
Okay, thank you. Next, announcements and communications. Do we have any? I don't. Okay. Next, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thanks,
Second.
Roxanne.
Catherine.
Second,
Seconds.
Catherine. Okay, discussion.
I would like to make an amendment or an adjustment to it
Mhm.
to add the budget committee summary of our meeting. So probably under committee and liaison reports, is that right? Or is that a different spot?
You can add that as a D, budget committee.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Is that okay with you, Roxanne? That friendly
Yes.
amendment? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. We have an agenda. Okay, acceptance of the minutes. We have two sets, July 28th and September 1st. Brandon emailed the July 28th minutes. We should probably make sure it gets added to the board packet when it gets posted on the website, so all of that stays together to match the agenda. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the July minutes.
Second. Roxanne seconds.
Okay, discussion.
I just want to say once again how amazing Melanie is for doing these minutes, because I was down to the wire getting those done. It took me 2 hours to review them again. So thanks again, Mel.
Okay. All in favor of approving the July minutes?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Let the record reflect that this motion was passed unanimously. All right. We also have the September minutes. Is there a motion?
Carla motions to accept the September 1st minutes.
Roxanne seconds.
Discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that this motion was passed unanimously. Okay, next, financial reports. Emily, anything to add since you've sent these out? Or anything you'd like to comment on?
I had a whole bunch of questions from Brandon. Brandon, I did see those. I'm happy to address them now. I know some of them kind of fall under procedural, so I don't know if you want to talk about those if we just want to read them off during the director's part, but we can also, do you want me to cover the financial questions now? Okay.
Yeah, do you want just the 2 budget ones?
Sure. All right, so you had a question about, let me just look through, the elevator, and no, that does not have the annual cost on there. That has gone up. That hasn't been put in there yet. What that you're seeing there is a, that is the battery that was purchased and the hydraulic oil change that's already happened. So you're gonna see
so
it's $5,000 for the elevator. So yeah, there is gonna be an additional over, it's like, I think 8,800.
Okay. And then, the second half of that question too was, we talked about this during the budgeting process about how we're paying a lot for one elevator. Did the city ever, finance ever get back to us about how that breakdown is determined?
They just said that they divided up between the city buildings. I'd have to go back and find the email from Julie because I think that happened pre-closure, so it was a while ago. But yeah, they did end up responding about it and just basically said that they divide all the charges up.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how much a elevator inspection should cost, but we pay quite a bit every year. So I don't know, at some point we want to explore our own inspection.
Yeah. The other question was about what the computer charges were for. Under computer supplies and parts, you'll notice that there is about $9,000 of expenses so far. That does include the Chromebooks, and that includes the ones that have not been reimbursed yet through the IMLS grant. And then it also has the curbside pickup app on there, which I'm also hoping to get reimbursement for. And I think that's it for budget questions.
Emily, assuming we end up getting that grant reimbursement money, keep in mind that we can increase that that line item accordingly. We can vote to do that. So don't feel like you can't, keep working towards other goals.
Great, sure thing. Thank you.
Okay. Are there questions from board members around the financial reports? Okay, next, library director's report. Emily, anything to add?
Okay, I just want to give you an update. I have not heard any news about a new trustee yet, but I do know we've had some applications. That's all I've heard. Tomorrow, I'm going to be meeting with Library Design Associates, and we're going to finalize some of the specs that will prepare it to be open up for a bid. So that's kind of exciting to be finalizing this last step. And then in October, it should go out for bid. And then finally, RFID quotes. I was going to do an RFQ for that, so a request for quotes. I've been having some issues getting other companies. I have Envisionware. I haven't gotten Demco or Biblioteca to give me a quote yet. Biblioteca and I were supposed to talk, and he never ended up calling. So I'm going to try to touch base with him tomorrow and then see what's going on with Demco. But once I have those quotes in place, then we can move forward with those. We've already started purchasing for the Library of Things. We decided to start with the school-related items, so things that would be helpful for students right now. So we have all of our STEM kits in place, and we just got a bunch of board games too. So we went to Toyology and purchased kind of special board games that, aren't the normal ones that you'd have around your house. We tried to do educational ones too that would be helpful for students. So it's really fun though. Toyology is amazing. They gave us a great discount, and we actually had a credit there, which I didn't know about. So, and we got a ton of games for not very much money. It was, I love Toyology. I can't say enough nice things about them. And then I have the other questions from Brandon. Brandon, how do you want to do this? You want to read them off? You want me to read them off? I have them up right now.
No, go ahead. You keep on running the show. I like it.
Okay. So I have a question that says, Twigs, have we considered going digital until phase 6 of the reopening? Everything is so unknown. A digital format would be a cost savings and allow us to make changes as needed. It is, everything's digital, the leaflet and the Twigs. This was just in addition. We ended up at no cost, because we go through the city printer. We had some Twigs printed off so that we could stick them in the Friday packets that they give out at the schools. The next question was the youth programming budget. It says, Amy seems to have some concerns about limitations to budget. With Friends providing for programming after the spring, does she know that there are more funds? I feel like she was only planning with the funds the board provided. So no, she is aware that she's going to end up getting some money from the Friends eventually. The thing is, right now, we don't know how much. So the idea behind that was to just go ahead and plan with what you absolutely have, because I've told the Friends to hold off on providing anything until summer. So because that's when I'm hoping we're going to be back in person and we can do a big shebang in the summer then, and hopefully be flush with money. So that's what's going on there, but she is aware that there should be some more money coming down the pike eventually. The next question, does auto renewal require a policy change, or can we implement that as is? We actually already voted last year to move forward with auto renewal. It wouldn't require an actual policy change because it's a SASOG thing. So, but the board they voted to vote yes at the SASOG meeting. So I think that should suffice as far as any sort of like a policy change needed. RFD tagging should eliminate ghost items from our catalog, cleaning up some of the TLN budget. Should we be aggressive in weeding before then? I'd still say yes. While it'll get the ghost items, what it wouldn't be getting is items that are out of date or dirty or worn or just not circling. So that's why I would still want the staff to be weeding the collection and looking through it. Says, can someone explain the contactless pickup process on the staff end? The graphic seems as if there are 5 people that touch a book before it gets to a patron. So the process with the curbside pickup, that's not just one fluid, like, they pick up, that's not birth through death, that graphic that they gave, that could take a number of days to actually get through the process, because the holds come in the next morning or in the evening, then a staff member will pull the holds, they'll pass it on, somebody will be organizing them, and then the patron, meanwhile, once their hold is triggered, then they place their time, they're scheduling their pickup time, which could be days out, and then that would be packaged up. So yeah, it could be a number of staff working with the book at any given time, but they wear gloves, so it's not like they're just manhandling the book. But that's just, the graphic, the intention of it, Access Services made that it was more for the staff side of things so that they could get a feel for what the different roles were that were all involved in the process. So like they kind of know their own role and their place in the process. But it's really more of an assembly line process. But just to clarify, it doesn't just happen just like that in one smooth motion. That's that process can be kind of spread out. We have a question then on the park action item. Actually, we can cover that one. I put that as a discussion item. So I'm happy to cover that. Then just to clarify though, that's all I got from Aaron, and that's all he got from the park designer. So he was just passing that along. And I believe that is it. Does anybody have any other questions?
Catherine.
Under the first bullet, the last bullet under there, Emily, in the Access Services Department report, I was just wondering if you could explain, it says that there's movement within the shared system to open up new items to circulation within the shared system. And then it says how many libraries are participating. Does that mean participating in general or participating in opening up more of their items? Can you clarify a little bit about that?
Yeah, so libraries right now through the shared system are given the choice on whether they want to open up their new items for interloan. Typically we wouldn't, but with the idea that, people aren't browsing, so a lot of we do have a definite overflow of books. We have books sitting out on carts just because, they're not getting checked out. And what we're seeing, especially with nonfiction, is new nonfiction is not going out the way it would have had it been on the shelf and people could browse through it. So a lot of libraries are opting to open up their new items for interloan. The downside of that then is that it's taking your new items potentially out of the hands of your patrons. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a catch-22. At this point, we are not loaning out our new items, but I am open to the idea. Adrian and I have been kind of looking at it and seeing how it's going for other libraries, and just kind of at this point, we haven't, but we're open to the idea of doing it. So
thank you. And then the other thing that I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank Emily for helping to arrange me attending that conference with her. I also found it helpful, as you noted, some better than others, but that's true of any conference. So
yeah, and did you see they're keeping it open until October 1st?
I got the email today. I might go in and check out more stuff now that I have extra time.
Yeah, thank you for attending with me.
Mm-hmm.
Carla.
I had a few notes. Since everything's virtual right now, and a lot of the schools around here are also virtual, I was wondering if you guys had considered having some of the programming earlier in the day. Or asking those who attend if that would be good for them or not. I know not all schools are remote, but that might be one of those changes that could possibly be well received. I don't know. And especially parents are still trying to work their full day, and then kids are done at 3. They might be looking for things to do at that time.
Sure, I will pitch that to Amy. She's working on the winter spring twigs right now, so I will ask her thoughts on that and see if we can look into maybe doing a survey with patrons.
The auto renewal coming due notices, so would those notices be every time it's about to be renewed, that would get emailed out, or only after it's been auto-renewed its maximum number of times?
So no, like, so if your item was coming due, when you get that email notification, that triggers it and it'll renew it the maximum amount of times you still have left to renew it.
Okay,
That makes
so if I didn't like, I might get that notice 3 times, right? Not only once at the end.
No, I think that you'd only get it once at the end. I think that what it would do is it would extend it to another 6 weeks out. Because you'd be getting the 3 weeks after your 3 weeks are up, you'd be getting the notice that it's due. And if you didn't at that point, then it would renew it the maximum amount of renewals, which would be another 2 renewals. So I believe, I don't know if it goes just the full 6 weeks or if it still sends you the 3 weeks just as a nudge to get your items back. I'm not sure about that.
How much control do we have over those notifications that go out?
Not much. I mean, we definitely have input, and, you know, being members of the committee and everything, the SASOG, attending the SASOG's meetings, usually if there's a major issue that's going to be pointed out and they're going to take a vote on it. But, you know, overall TLN, you don't have a lot of say and you can't customize notifications. We ran into that with our curbside pickup. Is that, you know, we wish that the messages could be a lot clearer about how our procedures work, but, you know, we have to, everything's standardized for the consortium, so.
Just my view is receiving more of those notices is a good thing, so.
Or letting the patron know, look at the nice service of auto renewal that just happened.
Right.
You have this much
Yeah.
time left. Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes once we're done with the book, I'll stack it someplace and I kind of forget about it. So, you know, reminding me, hey, if you're done with it, bring it back.
Yeah, that's a good question. I do hope that it does send a notice out midway and it doesn't just, you know, automatically give you 9 weeks, that at least it kind of tries to nudge people into getting stuff back.
And I know I could look it up, but is the TLN charge, is that under the data processing services?
Yes.
Okay. So I know it said that there would be an increase of 3.23%, and just for if anybody cares, that's like $1,300. So it's an increase. It's not going to break the bank, though. Oh, and then just that hourly code that was talked about that they were turning back on. I thought that will probably be really good if we are circulating laptops within the library.
Yeah, that's a really good use for it.
I think that's all of my current things.
Thanks. Any other questions about the director's report? Brandon.
So thank you for answering my other 10 questions in a judicious manner. Quick library things really quick. When do you see that launching? I know that, you know, the funds are there now, the policy's there now. Now it's just kind of on a staffing and ability to get it out.
Yeah, very soon. So we're just starting slow right now. I'm just kind of storing it where I can. I haven't really gotten into the weeds of once the collection grows, what we're going to do, just because it's small right now. So all that we're really doing right now, we found a record that matches the items that we have, and then it's just getting it processed. So they should be coming out really soon. Also just the packaging. We're working on the details of that, like how we want to store it, and just make sure that we try to get all the parts back. So it's just kind of the devil in the details right now, but it should be very soon.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to checking out some work.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Any other questions about library director's report? Okay, we'll move on then to committee and liaison reports. Friends of the library. So some of us attended, well, some people attended the annual meeting last night. I came later and saw part of their board meeting. Would someone who was there like to give a summary?
So I know Stacey, you saw me there, but I think Catherine or Emily might be better giving the summary. I thought the meeting started at 7, I think Mitzi started at 6:20, so it was I missed a good part of the annual meeting also.
I can talk a little bit. In fact, I'm going to pull up the agenda really fast just so I can be sure to be complete in talking about it. Hold on one sec. If I can find it quickly. There we go. Margaret talked a little bit about the history of the Friends, which was just some background information and kind of some personal information. Mitzi talked about the fact that the Friends shop is still at the phase that we're in, when able to head in there to do that work. Pam and Deb just detailed book sales, which was acknowledging that the March book sale was able to be gotten in so that stock isn't terrible. So they had the sale and they handled that. And that money came in for March. But then after that, obviously, everything shut down. Melissa talked about membership numbers, and I did not write them down. So I don't recall what membership is at. And then John shared a little bit about fundraising on Facebook that has been done since they are able to accept donations there, and also reminded people that they can support the Friends by designating that for their Kroger card or through Amazon Smile. And a recent change to Amazon Smile, you can do it on the app on your phone now, which you couldn't do before. So Larry did talk about the budget situation and kind of the state we're in, which is nothing new to any of us as far as that goes, with the bookstore being shut down, and talked about, you know, the inability to support programs right now because of no income coming in from the bookstore. So I don't know, Emily, if you wanted to add anything else, or Melanie.
I think you summarized it really well.
And they also held officer elections and approved their budget last night, correct? I was there for that part.
A 6-month budget.
6-month budget, yeah, because things are so strange right now.
Do they have a full board?
They don't. There are, I believe, 3 open positions, including mine, with everything going on. I resigned prior to last night's meeting. I attended the annual meeting, but did not stay for the board meeting. So there are open positions on the board right now, and I do believe that they are seeking, well, I know they're seeking people to fill those spots.
Okay. Next, we have DDA. Did you?
Yes, I watched the DDA meeting. There wasn't too much, actually really anything that I would say was particularly relevant to the library. They did a lot of approving of advertising campaigns. So they approved the extension of the Drew and Mike podcast. There was an interesting discussion where they had done a strategic marketing plan, and that said that they should be targeting Brittany, which is a single millennial, and Joe and Kelly, which is the young family demographics. So there was some debate about whether the Drew and Mike podcast really reached out to those target demographics or not. They ended up allocating $24,000 to it. They want to definitely broaden their advertising base, though. They renewed the Comcast advertising, which is their TV spots. They renewed billboard advertising. They have digital billboards, and they want to make it more targeted towards what's going on, whether it's like holiday events or the free parking. They were going to vote on an NPR sponsorship. So they would be like one of those sponsorships that they would announce on the quarter of the hour, but they ended up tabling that just because there was some debate about whether that would really reach target demographics, whether it would be worth the money because it's not really like advertising so much. I mean, it's not just, I guess it's like not traditional advertising. So they weren't sure really if they wanted to go through with the amount proposed at that point. So they ended up tabling that. They're going to take it back to committee, do more research on NPR. They approved the ad campaign for the Best Of magazine. And then Sean Kammer went ahead and got a $5,000 grant for businesses that's going to help them expand their outdoor services, especially as we come into the colder months. And that's it.
Thanks. No more talk about parking?
No, but it's a go. It got approved at city commission level, so.
Right.
I took advantage of some of that parking already.
Nice. Okay. Next, we need 2 people, according to our bylaws, to agree to be on the nominating committee, or I can just appoint them. That's actually what our bylaws say. I could just appoint them. But do we have 2 volunteers to serve on this very short-lived committee? The way this committee works is 2 of you will talk to people about different offices. So president, vice president, secretary, and come up with the list of people who would like to run for each of those slots. You would report back at our October meeting, and then the actual election happens in January. The board votes in January. So are there 2 people? Maybe Melanie, you were on the nominating committee last year. Do you want to talk about how you go about it so people know what they're...
It is super fun. It is the most fun library committee, and I pray that I get a chance to be on it again this year. So that whoever wants to join me is welcome to do that. I'm super excited about the nominating committee.
Who wants to learn how to do it? I hear Melanie's interested. Who would like to join her? Maybe one of our newer members so that you can learn.
Yes,
Catherine.
I can do it.
All right, we're
like
going to do
it.
that, Catherine. This is going to be some excellent nominating like you've never seen.
Okay. So Mel and Catherine, and you guys will be ready with an unbelievable report at our October meeting. You excited? I'm excited. Okay, thank you. Budget committee, we met September 4th. And Carla emailed the link to the notes. We should probably also make sure that ends up in the board packet that ends up getting posted to the website.
That one is.
Perfect.
I got that one. I'm just missing the minutes.
Perfect. So you have that there. Is there anything you would like to highlight, Carla?
So we had a couple main focuses in the meeting. One was talking through grant funding and proposals with Emily. She's been working on that a lot, and we were doing brainstorming together of what appropriate items to apply for would be for the COVID related, CARES Act related grant funding for libraries. So the list was there of all the ideas we came up with, and Emily was going to use her executive decision making to fill out the forms as she deemed appropriate, which she has already. Emily, you only shared that with the budget committee, right? What you had filled out so far.
Yes.
Yeah, she does have like version 1, phase 1 of the form filled out, which is for things that we've already purchased and that were related to COVID related expenses. And there were things like the Linda LinkedIn Learning and the app for the was it My Libro? Is that right? My Libro app, and then bags for the contactless pickup, and some PPE stuff, all sorts of different things, and that's totaled up to like $39,000, I think. And so even if we only get that, it'll be very helpful. But there are some of our big ticket items that we've been thinking of, that we've discussed in these meetings, that might be helpful in a COVID world. She is planning to fill out in hopes that maybe some of those things would actually get covered. So, which is exciting to think about. Then the other part of our meeting was discussing revisiting the budget now that we had a lot of our revenue numbers in, and things look pretty good. So we finished out that meeting feeling like, hey, you know what? We'd be okay with adding on to this renovation project. between having the grant funding that's going to support a lot of the COVID related expenses that we weren't really expecting, and then also that our revenues are looking good. We felt like the facilities committee could go ahead and, probably with your approval, of course, add on to our, start phase 2, but if they could get it going quickly, we could just expand phase 1. And it's not even a phase 2, just get more in there on this first round of building work. And so anything that seemed appropriate that would be done before at this time, we thought would be okay. There's definitely some things now, a lot of us are on the facilities and the budget committee. So the conversations kind of overlap a little bit, but there are parts of the renovation project that, one, they will take a little bit more time to make decisions on, but also two, we had the conversations before that some things we don't really know if we want them exactly that way, depending on how long this COVID situation keeps going. Like gathering places, we might not want to commit to how a gathering place would be set up right now. So those things maybe we would wait on, but the things that we know to go ahead and move forward on, like finishing the flooring throughout the building and painting in the staff areas, those things that we had kind of scaled back on because we weren't sure where the money was going to be at, we thought would be absolutely fine to move forward on. We also discussed that, well, the makerspace area, if there had been the idea of bumping out the wall and having it be one of those clear walls so you can see in the treadway walls. That was ultimately, I think that was going to be our plan for that room, but having a wall there wasn't really very COVID friendly. And it was like, well, what if we just bumped it out and didn't put the wall up yet? Then it's more COVID friendly. So there was the talk about doing that. Like we could actually include the makerspace part with the current things and just not put the wall up yet. So that was kind of where we left it, that, hey, if we could get moving really quickly, maybe we could make the phase 1 bigger. And budget committee would be okay with that. Any questions? And I don't remember if it was in this meeting or if we discussed it earlier. There had been conversation about the RFID tagging. I don't remember when that came up. Have we discussed it in these meetings that it seemed like an appropriate project to move forward on at this time? And the budget committee felt like we had the money that we could move forward on it, and it was probably a good time to do it. So.
Good setup, Carla. Should we move into action items next? I didn't see any questions for the budget committee, but there's a budget amendment as an action item, so let's move right into it. So we're on action items, budget amendment. I would entertain a motion.
So I would motion something different than what is in the board packet.
Great. What would you motion?
All right. So the board packet had the original plan that we had received right before our last board meeting. And if we were to expand that with the different things that we discussed in the budget and facilities committees, which would be the makerspace, the auditorium, and the staff areas, it would add about $90,000 to that project, which would take it to, instead of $337,000, $427,000. But then there's also, do we want to cut it that close? Should we add a little wiggle room in what we want to move into the account. Yeah, Brandon?
I'd be a big proponent of adding a 15% overage just for construction and unknowns. It's money we don't have to spend, but money we could just to make it cleaner for budgeting purposes.
So I did the math for 10% and for 20%. So 10%.
I like 20%.
10% extra would say that we should move 473,000. 20% was 512,000. So 15% I would guess is right around 500,000.
I'm happy with 20%.
Okay, so my motion would be for a budget amendment into capital outlay, increasing that from $0 to $512,000. That is my motion.
Did you say moved from fund balance?
Yes.
Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Brandon seconds. Okay, discussion.
I'll start. I think Carla just during the previous discussion talked a lot about our plans for the future here, and we've as the budget committee met and it's the facility committee met. These are plans that we've laid out that are going to improve the library. We've sought public input. This project is moments away from getting started, and this committee or this board has voted on it a couple times, so I'm excited for this final vote. Which is kind of procedural, just moving the money to pay for the RFP we've already, asked to be produced. So that's why I'm supporting this.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Catherine.
I said this before, but I just think, there's a whole lot of bad that has come from this. But the one good thing is that if we're going to be closed down to the public, we can be doing something to make the library better for the public. So I think it's a great time to take advantage of the shutdown and do this work that I think is really valuable for people.
Any other discussion? Erin?
I was looking through my notes. They did say in the Library Design Associates proposal that pricing does not include permit cost or architectural fees, and those will likely be required. So when we say that 20% overages or that 20% leeway, will that help capture those costs? That'll be enough. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just in my experience, permits they'll be substantial, but not that high. Architectural fees will be for mostly the electrical drawings or if we have to change HVAC, but those will be in the scope of the project. It will be minuscule compared to the price of the renovation.
Okay,
but we'll be caught in that 20%.
And if I recall, if we use library design, then the original amount that we paid for the plans would be applied to our account. Is that what you're remembering?
I believe it's a $7,500 credit.
Yeah, so that's in the mix too. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of moving $512,000 from fund balance to capital outlay for the purposes of the renovation, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Okay. Let the record reflect that this motion was passed unanimously.
So I have another motion
Go ahead.
for another budget amendment. It would be $80,000 from fund balance to miscellaneous contracted services to cover the costs of RFID tagging.
Say the number again, please.
80,000.
Is there a second?
Roxanne will second.
Okay, discussion? Do you want to speak to it, Carla?
So this project is one that we've been talking about for a while, and the budget committee feels like we have the money for it, and it would be a good time while we're shut down and to go ahead and get this project underway. And also there's a decent possibility that it could be covered in some of the grant funding. It's part of the proposal process. So we're hopeful for that. So we'd actually get some of that money back, possibly all of it, who knows? But we're gonna move forward on it. So either way, or assuming approval.
Right. Brandon.
Emily, can you remind me? I believe we've already done using Henry's earbuds tonight. They're just too small. Emily, can you remind me? I believe we've done some planning for this in the sense that we bought checkout computers already that can handle content list checkout just by swiping your books underneath them. I think we've discussed also sorting machines that we could potentially buy with COVID money, so there's less handling on books. Can you just explain that a little bit more for us again?
Well, RFID tagging, it really kind of opens a door for a lot of other technologies. Like you said, there are automatic sorting machines. They usually go in circulation workrooms. So I talked to Baldwin Library, who has one, their director, and he says it's one of the best purchases he ever made because of the staff time it saves, where people return their books and the machine, it's like a conveyor belt, and then it sorts them. And I think it puts them on carts in the order that they're going to need to go in. So it's extremely helpful. They have a window. I think how theirs works is you can walk up and drop your stuff and it goes right to there. We don't have quite the setup that they do, so that could kind of complicate things because I think it still requires staff to place it on the belt. So it create a little bit of extra work, but I think it's a great thing to consider down the road because it's kind of the way of the future. It would definitely help kind of automate the process. Also to the 24/7 library, which we had been discussing for a while, and I'm going to try to write a grant for, is that is RFID technology as well. So that would basically let us create a virtual branch library. We discussed it as a discussion item at previous meetings, but that's something else, a good outcome that could come from RFID tagging if we ever wanted to install security gates as well. That's why when you go to a library and it beeps, that's RFID tagging that they have in place. So it really, it's right out of the gate, it's going to make things a lot more convenient and a touchless experience for patrons. And it's going to make things a lot quicker for staff, but there's a lot of other outcomes that could come from it too.
Thank you. And there's a potential.
$80,000 enough?
I believe so. It's hard because I only have the one quote so far, but from what I understand, they're all pretty close to that.
And there's potential that this is part of COVID relief funds also, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron.
Do you worry this takes away too many staff hours and it could almost be a negative thing if you suddenly don't need a staffer at all? You could eliminate a position.
No, I don't think it would save that much staff time. I mean, I think too, what I would like to do then is just put their time to other uses. And there's a lot of projects that I would love to get going that, sometimes we're just kind of hamstrung checking in books. So now, I think it'll, once we get in there, we get everything done and we see how much staff time it's saving, then try to take that time and put it towards one of the other many projects that I get going in my mind that don't always have the staff time to get off the ground. So I don't plan on eliminating the staff or anything and have machines take over their jobs.
Okay, but I, being a nonprofit, and I wouldn't want to see that. So that's great.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other discussion? Roxanne.
I just want to say it's one of those things that we've been talking about for years and years not long after I was first on the board, and I think its time has more than come.
Amen. Okay, on that note, all in favor of $80,000 for RFID? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, let the record reflect that this motion was passed unanimously. That is so exciting, you guys.
Yeah.
I've been on this board since 2012, and we've been talking about it I think the whole time. So 2020 has good things. Okay. Discussion items is next on the agenda. Park updates. Do you want to talk about that, Emily?
Sure. I don't have too much to say about it, other than I got this from Aaron, who spoke at our last meeting. He passed this along from MKSK. So they took what the board had said about furniture, and they said that they actively took that into account when preparing this furniture design. So I do think they're going to have more coming our way once they get those plans finalized. But as of right now, here is the plan for the patio furniture. So as you can see, they had the modular benches. I had a question for Aaron. I sent it kind of late, so I didn't get a response to it. But my question was, who actually moves those around? Did he cover that at the last meeting? Does anybody remember? Yeah, it was. I was wondering, can the public move those or just staff? What's involved with changing them? I don't know. And then we have the patio furniture, which I like the look of that a lot. And then they have the layout of how it's going to look around the library. So yeah, they have a lot of seating out there. Actually, I was kind of surprised by how many seats they're planning. So it looks like it's going to be a good size space, and I think that'll get a lot of use. And I like the benches too.
I like the
Yeah,
benches
also they
too.
moved
I think
the-
kids are gonna like climbing on them, and
Yeah, they look
Much
fun.
Okay. Aaron.
Something I noticed that I didn't see previously, that seat wall bench that's along the west side. So does that mean when you park in the garage and you want to go just drop off books or pick up a hold, you have to walk all the way around that bench to get to the stairs or the ramp?
Isn't it where the little garden area is now? That's what I took that as. Like maybe they're extending the wall up so you can sit on it.
I assume that the
Oh,
ramp right now is where the ramp is shown in the picture, almost.
Oh, really? Oh, I took it a different way. Okay. I understood to be that first set of steps that they show as the current set of steps.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing what Aaron's seeing because right now the ramp goes up to the top. Like you don't have to go up steps when you get, right? Like it's at the top level of steps, isn't it?
The ramp goes up kind of between the steps and the building. And
There's no steps on the left, right? There's only steps on the right.
Correct.
So that can't be the same ramp because this one has steps on the left. I'm agreeing with you. I think it's different.
Yeah, it just concerned me. There's still that ramp that they have built in between those two different set of stairs. It just concerned me that you'd have to go all the way around this bench to actually get to the door. It's already difficult to do a drop off on the north side. Sorry, I have to think about it. On the north side, unless you have a passenger in the car, it's difficult to do a drop off. So now if this bench extends the way I think it looks like it's extending, it's hard to drop off books on that side too. But Brandon might be right now that I'm
So I just measured it on Google Maps. It's 46 feet from the building to the end of the green space before the
Okay.
that is right now. It also goes at a different angle, right? It cuts off. The space at the top is probably much less than the space at the bottom. Right? It makes that triangle as it goes up the ramp.
right.
I'm sure it looks like that angle's changing in the proposed development.
It was just something I noticed and I wanted to get clarification on.
Emily, are you still attending meetings around this, or are those meetings done being held? Or
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, so I believe they're just done.
And when
I
is
can look
the
into that for.
proposed
I'll
start
ask them.
of the park? When is that supposed to start?
That's gonna start in the fall, so I think like later fall. I believe October.
Like in the next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the plan is to have it finished in late August of next year.
didn't they say that it wouldn't be until like the later stages of the park that they would be closing our south entrance?
So yeah.
Brandon.
So this was one of my questions to Emily earlier today, and my only comment is, we're seeing some preliminary plans, it looks like, and some details. But we had a lot of other questions about Wi-Fi in the park and how that's going to impact our RPL outlets at the under the canopies for people to use as they're using our services. And then a shade diagram. I know there's been a lot of talk about these canopies and the funnels and how water's coming down, but Aaron was going to get with MKSK and get a shade diagram so we could see what the shades will look like below these canopies, because it sounded like there might be, maybe that could lead to an impetus to change. So, Emily, if you just follow up with them, I think that's something we're looking, nothing's done until it's done, right? This hasn't been approved by City Commission yet. So yeah, I'd just like to keep the communication going and at least get, maybe we're not going to change those canopies, but maybe we can at least get the electrical outlets in there. Just get some of these smaller things that we need for the library. There's still no bike rack. You don't see, this is silly. You don't see our return bins in this diagram. I mean, we have to make sure that there's space for all our library stuff as they're doing this.
So at this point, Emily, is it directly between you and then Aaron for this sort of feedback, since the committee isn't meeting right now? Is that the best point of communication?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that board members would like to raise regarding the park design?
Not sure if people are aware how I feel about the canopies. I'm willing to express my feelings some more.
I think we remember.
You did like them, correct?
Okay. I'm wondering, before we get to adjournment, if policy review has a plan on meeting in the next month. Brandon?
We don't have a date set yet, but I was going to call for a meeting sometime between now and the next. So we have a handful of agenda items from last time and then some items to consider.
If I recall, it's materials replacement policy, delivery service, pilot language, and then I'll look at the bylaws.
And then standard COVID reopening. We need to touch the
COVID reopening. Okay. So just, major things. Okay. So look for that policy review committee. And we'll, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Catherine. Discussion?
This is a pretty quick meeting.
This was quick, you guys. Helps to have 2 September meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that this motion was passed unanimously. Good to see you guys.
Awesome.
Be well.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Carol and Richard, for all the help again.